Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's January 12th, 2014, and this week we're going to discuss descending bass line harmonies. Now, this question was sent in from David. He's in Boardman, Ohio, and he wrote in with this email. I'm a 60-year-old guy who's played guitar on and off in his life for decades. Only if you heard me play, you'd think I just started guitar last month. I play pretty simple stuff, mostly just pluck across the strings, making things up. I'd like to know if there are ways that notes can drop in the bass end of chords like a scale. I've heard it in songs, but I'd like to see you show it as a lesson. From David in Boardman, Ohio, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, David. You know, when chords are played with a descending bass line, musicians will often refer to this as voice leading. See, just like the human voice can lead in a stepwise manner from one phrase to another, the lowest bass note of a chord can do the exact same. The only thing is, when chords do this fluently, we need to apply a chord voicing principle that's known of as chord inversions. You may have seen these written as what are called slash chords. If you've maybe had a chance to work in a church group or high school band or jazz band that maybe you've played in the past. So what I've done is I've created a small collection of this type of chord progression to demonstrate how the concept of moving bass lines can be put to use. Well, you know, a lot of songs will have harmony sections in them, whether it's a verse or a chorus or a bridge, in where bass notes will move downward through a series of chord changes. And it's quite popular to hear this, you know, it's not like it's a foreign idea. Now, I wanted to start with a phrase that's somewhat familiar to the ear, a sound that you've probably heard something like before, you know, kind of along the lines of the Hit the Road Jack. That kind of sound. So I decided to start with a real common sounding phrase just built from smaller versions of the popular open chords that are out there, just with dropping bass notes. And we're going to keep things really simple. The bass note movement is just going to go from 5th string open A down to a 3rd fret 6th string G, and then 1st fret F on that same string, and then ending on open 6th string E. Now, the upper register of each of the chords is just going to pretty much stay exactly the same. It's just going to be an E and A note through most of them, and then at the end, when that E major rolls around, we're going to have a little major interval from E to G sharp. Okay, so here's how this initial progression sounds. It's really straightforward. Here's one more time. Now I want to build on this, so in my second example, I just want to take that same harmony from the first example there and expand upon it. So mainly I want to just demonstrate how you can start these ideas off in an extremely simplistic way, and then expand upon the harmony to really dress up the chord changes further, and of course to thicken up the overall sound of the harmony as well. So all I did here was add on the appropriate tone on top on the 2nd string, and basically on each of these chords, I just wanted to have the phrase sound like it's got an additional upper register chord tone. It's going to fatten it up a little bit and make it sound a little bit brighter. So here's how it all comes together with an additional tone on that 2nd string for each of the chords as they're harmonized across. Really builds the brightness at the top end of the chord when you can add more notes on. But you can, of course, start really simple, just like we saw with the first example. Now, I want to move next into shifting things up here a little bit with a chord progression that gets performed using an arpeggiated drop pick approach. You can finger pluck it if you want to. And the chord changes are going to operate from going from E minor, and this is going to go to E minor with D in the bass. Then we're going to go right through a C major 7, then a B minor 7, and then we're just going to head into A suspended 2nd, and finally come back to the B, but this time to turn it around, we're going to have that dominant 7th B chord come along there. Now, these kinds of chord progressions are really nice sounding and can be created as easily as just finding a series of scale tones and, just match the chords, off the bass that you think sound interesting and that will work well. You just use your ear, and go against the bass notes that you decided to use and find some harmony for the top end of it. So here's how the example that I came up with sounds when it gets played through. So it would work excellent, you could imagine, in a ballad. You'll hear different things like this maybe in the song by Zeppelin called Baby, I'm Gonna Leave You. They're all over the place, so they're very interesting and a lot of fun to create. But, I want to move things around here a little bit further for my final example. I want to take a look at another direction with this concept by going into a jazz style. Take a look at dropping bass tones as well in this style chromatically, rather than doing another example that sticks within a descending scale pattern. Now, a great example of something similar to this used in an actual song is the piece Looking Out for Number One by the Canadian band Bachman Turner Overdrive. If you're not familiar with that tune, check it out. It's a very interesting use of this principle. Now, the chord changes in my example are going to be moving along here from A minor 11 down into an A flat dominant 7th, flat 5. Then we're going to have a G major 7 come in. Then we're going to have G flat dominant 7th after that. After that, we're going to head into an F major 7 sharp 11. And then an E major. And I should also mention that if these chord types are somewhat new for you, you have trouble with the fingerings maybe or whatnot, just go slowly when first developing them, and with time and with practice, you'll gain improved skill over the fingering layouts. So here's how this progression sounds up to tempo. Well, when it comes to the use of descending bass lines applied under the chords of harmony, there can be many musical variations applied, whether that's through the use of different styles of music, like jazz or rock or pop music, country and western, or, the application of different scales or modes or arpeggio concepts, different kinds of extended chords, altered chords, even what you've seen me apply in this video here, or even the application of chromatic lines. So, the descending bass notes do not need to follow only one approach when they're used in a piece of music. But, one thing's for sure, these lines sound really cool, and they're also a lot of fun to invent. Even if your knowledge of harmony and key signature theory is still pretty weak, you can still actually, go quite far with this concept by simply using your ear alone. All it takes is some practice and a willingness to experiment musically. So anyway, I hope you have fun with this. That's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.